when you're improving an aquarium, you can either go BAM and just do it all at once, which is particularly good, especially if you have unlimited time and resources. On the other hand, what a lot of people need to do is just prioritize. So with an aquarium like this, the very first thing I'd be looking at doing is doing the spring clean. So whether that be a one big BAM spring clean or whether that be a section at a time. But I would want to do a spring clean so I am confident that when I start with a good stable base and I know that my sand is relatively clean. I don't want to start knowing that I'm full of hydrogen sulfide or potential huge amounts of crap underneath these reefs. So this could take a period of time. Because let's say you pull that out and vacuum under that, then maybe next week you might want to vacuum under that again until you're happy that that area is relatively clean. In the meantime, these rocks could potentially be outside getting some sun, killing off all the algae on it. Then you could then do that section. And once again, I'd pull all that out. I'd gravel clean. I'd make sure that I have polyfilter in my filter because I never want to be moving rocks without polyfilter because I don't want to discharge hydrogen sulfide and kill all my fish. And then I would probably the next week give that section a gravel clean again. Then take on that one. So I think you're looking at a decent amount of time to actually get that spring cleaned up. And I mean spring cleaned up so you're relatively confident that underneath them is clean. So I'd be doing that first. The next thing I'd be looking at doing is slowly removing the bioballs and replacing it for marine pure. Very unimportant while the fish stocks are so low. Will definitely make a difference when the fish stocks get high. Some point in the future I'd consider adding extra water flow. There's various options for trying to increase that water flow to 20 times an hour. Way into the future, when you start thinking about coral, replace the lights. There'll be lots of very good option lights. Definitely look at the AI lights. Then sometime in the future, by now we will move up into summer by then. When we get towards summer anyway, we've got to think about putting a chiller. So in the colder months, you don't have to worry about it. In a nice big house like this, the chiller is unlikely to be a problem. It's holiday time. Christmas holidays, that's when you got to start thinking about it. That's when the chiller is really going to be a benefit. So the spring clean would be priority number one, and then you could slowly improve the rest. You could consider moving the media out of that canister, hashing that up as a water change system, and step by step slowly improve this tank until it looks absolutely amazing. But the spring clean would be priority number one, and the rest could be done slowly over time. And then once we're happy with the fish stocks, once the spring clean's done, we can start upping the fish. Then when the fish are all happy and in the tank, then we can make sure the lights and water flow are done. We can then consider putting the dosing pump on, and then eventually we get to the point where we start putting easy coral in. And then by the time we start thinking about a bit more fancy, like harder to keep corals, then we'd have the rest of it all in place and we would have this tank absolutely pumping. Now a UV has got a tube in it and you need to replace that every year or two. There's also a quartz sleeve that you want to clean every year or so. But as far as UV is concerned, we need to make sure the water goes through it very slowly, and size is king. The bigger the UV, the more efficient the UV is, and the more chance that that UV is going to kill parasites. Therefore, the more the fish are likely to be healthy. So the answer at the end of the day with UV is bigger the better. Really big UVs are one of the best ways of reducing disease. Now a UV is an absolutely wonderful thing to add if you're adding fish, because when you're adding fish, the dinoflagellate phase of the UV means that you're going to reduce the chance of your fish getting sick. On the other hand, if your tank is very well established and you don't have any new fish going into the aquarium, it's better to turn your UV off. It will save the UV tube, and it will also allow plankton and copepods and so forth to thrive in the aquarium better. A lot of people will feed fish like Anthias copepods and plankton, and the UV will kill the copepods and plankton. So if you're adding live copepods and plankton for fish like Anthias, where possible, have your UV off. Unless you're adding new fish, you want to have the UV on for a good month or so after you add new fish. Or if you have any problems with the fish, turn the UV back on again for a month or so. But if everything's going well, there's no reason to have it on. So for these double-sided tanks, particularly tanks like this one, which look unreal, but they look particularly unreal if they're not yours, because you having access to aquascape this side of the tank is just challenging. So one thing I've seen people do is just tape a mirror to one side. Let's say you're going to do it here. Put a mirror here, that way when you're down looking forward, then you see the reflection in the mirror, so you can see what you're seeing. Otherwise, you almost need somebody on this side yelling and screaming of where you got to place stuff. Because when you're on that side, trying to decorate this side, particularly putting corals, is a very challenging exercise.
It will be hard, actually.
Yeah, it'll actually be quite hard.